Today, I want to talk a little bit about what we call the 7 preliminary considerations. These are the 7 rules that we apply to any exercise routine when getting started. These rules are meant to help keep you safe and give you a better exercise experience, regardless of modality that you're using. So, preliminary consideration number 1, you want nothing loose in your mouth. That means no gum or candy. As you begin to put forth greater amounts of effort and we inroad the muscle more deeply, there will be a greater demand for oxygen and nutrients by the muscle. As a result, the heart and lungs will then begin to increase their output, making you breathe much heavier. So we want to make sure that we don't aspirate something into the lungs, creating a medical emergency. The second preliminary consideration is called Valsalva. Valsalva is a fancy term for holding your breath. We do this every single day. For example, when you lift your golf clubs up and you put them into your back of your car, you kind of do that, okay? And when you do that, your blood pressure will skyrocket. So I want you to imagine a scenario that you're performing a very intense exercise, for example, on a leg press, and you are holding your breath for a significant period of time. While your blood pressure is elevating, we're pumping all sorts of blood into our legs, and that could cause problems. Anywhere from paralysis, stroke, death, and so on. Now, don't get afraid, because this is a really easy thing to avoid. Just breathe. So what I want you to do during exercise is just allow your jaw to hang freely from your face. Keep your voice void of facial expression, and breathe freely. In the past, you've probably been taught to breathe in a sequence. In other words, breathe out on the positive, in on the negative. I want you to avoid that as well. Do not think about it. Don't put a cadence to your breathing whatsoever. Just allow your jaw to hang freely and breathe from the back of your throat gently. Your body will then dictate how much you need to breathe. So as the exercise becomes more difficult, you'll start to breathe harder and harder. So in other words, that's what we want to do as we're beginning to bog down. So almost begin to breathe heavier as you're starting to slow your speed. Remember, breathing makes it go. Our third preliminary consideration is called exercise-induced headache, or EIH. Now, don't let this one scare you either. It's a very, very easy thing to avoid, and generally will happen in novice clients who don't have a lot of exercise experience. So I want to go through a little about what it feels like and what to do in the event that it happens. So, what it will feel like is a dull, numbing sensation that will start in the back of your head. And if you continue to exercise through and ignore it, it could shoot like a bolt of lightning to the top of your head, rest in the orbit of your eye, and give you a headache for upwards of days. Kind of migraine-like symptoms. Now, again, it doesn't cause any damage to your brain, but it will cause pain. So what you want to do is you start to feel anything weird going on inside your head that was not there prior to the exercise, immediately lower the weight, unload, and sit for about 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, if the pain is completely gone and you cannot even imagine that headache anymore, you can resume exercising. If you can even imagine that headache is still there in any way whatsoever, just call it a day. Stop exercising. We'll start up again another day. Also, discuss with your trainer immediately what's happening so that way we can rearrange the workout and make sure that that never happens again. Again, it doesn't cause any damage, but we do want to avoid any sort of issues with headaches going forward. Now, our fourth rule, or our fourth preliminary consideration, is proper head and neck position. Obviously, your neck is made up of a lot of fine-tuned ligaments and bone structures, and we want to make sure that they stay safe during exercise. So I want to give you 2 rules to follow during exercise. Number 1, I want your head looking forward at all times. This will ensure that you're not stressing your neck muscles in either direction. Number 2, I want you to make sure that your chin stays in a fist distance between your chin and chest. It is our job as trainers to make sure that your head starts in the proper position. It is yours to make sure that it stays there during the exercise. It is something we'll constantly look for during your exercise. But again, 2 rules. Head looking forward and keep your chin a fist distance from your chest. So the 5th preliminary consideration is speed of motion. Now this one's a really important one. We need to slow down when we move weight. Remember, the purpose of the exercise is to momentarily render the muscle weakened. And in order to do that, I want you to imagine each one of the muscles in your body as little batteries. And our goal is to empty that battery. There's 2 reasons why we want to do that, to slow down. Number 1 is force is equal to mass times acceleration. Well, obviously, in order to become stronger, we need to be under load, which means we need to have a mass. But in order to reduce the force placed on the body and the joints, we need to reduce the acceleration at which we move things. Secondly, it's for your safety. We got to reduce the force on the joints because exercise can actually create a lot of inflammation and damage to the joints. The other thing is, in order to keep the muscle loaded, we want to reduce the utilization of momentum and gravity from the exercise. So how we're going to slow down. We're going to move at a very slow rate from the starting point, which we'll call the lower turnaround. So let's imagine this point here being the lower turnaround. We're going to travel over the course of 10 seconds to the upper turnaround, the point at which we're going to now change directions and then lower the weight. We're going to lower the weight also in 10 seconds. So our total repetition cycle is 20 seconds. So we're going to move very, very slowly. We're going to rely on the trainer to count out loud to us a few times if we need to in order to get us to speed up or slow down in order to stay on pace. We don't want you counting in your head. We want you more focusing on what you're doing. So in other words, what muscle we're using, our form, our breathing techniques, things like that. We don't want you counting in your head and distracting yourself. Over time, this will become second nature to you. So when in doubt, move even slower. Our machines are designed specifically for this protocol, and as a result, there's very little friction. So you can move at a very, very slow rate. Again, we will constantly stay on top of you about maintaining this speed. Now, our sixth preliminary consideration is muscle soreness. Now, there's a couple of reasons why we get sore as a result of exercise. Number one, lactic acid built up in the muscle. Well, this is good, okay? But in the beginning, anytime we do something new, we'll experience a new level of soreness because our bodies aren't quite used to the exercise yet. As we become more efficient at exercising, the body will become better at removing the lactic acid from the muscle, and as a result, our level of soreness will decrease over time. That doesn't mean the exercise is less effective at that point. The second thing that can cause muscular soreness, which is not necessarily a good thing, is due to improper alignment in the exercise or the increased speed of motion or heaving or lunging at exercise. What that actually does is creates inflammation in the joint. As a result, you feel what would manifest itself into is soreness. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's actually trauma to the joint. So as we begin to slow down, improve our form, our speed of motion, and our alignments in the machines and the exercises, our level of soreness should decrease. What we're looking for here when we exercise is more of a systemic fatigue or a tightening. So what you should experience the next day is more of a tightening in the muscle. You feel that you did work and also very exhausted from the exercise once you're completing it. It should not be painful. So all of that being said, do not correlate the quality of your workout to the level of soreness you're experiencing. If you do feel anything outside the ordinary or something very, very painful, please come see one of us and we'll kind of work through what's causing this soreness. Our last preliminary consideration is expectations. Realize that as you're beginning here, we're learning a new skill. We're learning how to breathe, how to move, and how to focus. Now the focus is a really big one because in most cases when the going gets tough, we quit. So for example, as we arbitrarily choose a repetition count of 10, we kind of go to 10 and stop. Our goal is to learn to shut your brain down and let the body dictate when we're going to be done. In other words, muscular failure. So it's going to take a little bit of time and practice in order to be able to shut your brain down and continue to work through it. You'll learn to gain trust in your trainer, learn to gain trust in yourself, that this is not going to be a scary thing for you, and that you'll learn to be able to move past that. And that's when the good stuff really starts happening as we begin to challenge ourselves, become more intense. We as trainers will also learn you and what level of effort you're able to give. Now again, our goal is not to push you too hard at the beginning, it's to slowly train you in some of the techniques that we use over time. So the expectation is to be a learner here in the beginning. So be patient. The good stuff will come. So if you have any questions about any of this, come see us soon.